Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll start our meeting.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for coming tonight. This is the Union Township Board of Trustees regular meeting for July 9th, 2020. We want to welcome everybody here, but also everybody who is watching this on live stream and later on UTTV or Facebook. Let the record show that all three trustees are present. Also present is our fiscal officer, Mr. Ron Campbell. Gentlemen, our first item on the agenda is the approval of our minutes. This will be from the June 11th, 2020 regular meeting. You've had a chance to look those over. If there's no additions or corrections, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you. And we also have the June 11th, 2020 zoning meeting minutes. Once again, if there's no changes or corrections, I'll ask for a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you very much. Next item is correspondence. Mr. Campbell, did you have anything you wanted to report tonight?
Yes, sir. I have a letter from Milford Community Fire Department. Said, to the Board of Union Township Trustees, dear board members, on behalf of my co-workers in the city of Milford, please accept my sincerest appreciation for making one of your spare ambulances available to MCFD. Twice in the past couple of weeks, our ambulance experienced mechanical issues and temporary replacements was needed. Your fire department graciously loaned a unit to keep our EMS operating. This spirit of cooperation is so important to having a safe community, and I thank you for your gesture. Whenever we can be of assistance to Union Township, please feel free to reach out to my department. It is a pleasure to work closely with Chief Dimling and his staff. Sincerely, Mark Baird, Fire Chief.
Amen.
Very nice.
Very good. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Dimling. I will note our department heads are here. We just kind of spread them out in the audience tonight to give a little more distance. So just want to let everybody know that they are here. So no special presentations tonight, so we'll move on to the department reports. First will be our Fire Chief, Stan Dimling.
Thank you, Mr. McGraw. For the month of June 2020, the department made 189 fire responses, 416 emergency medical responses, and we ended up transporting 325 patients to local hospitals. The department completed 570 hours of training, handled 23 public education details, completed 4 fire safety inspections, and completed 7 inspections with the county building department. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
No, thank you for your work.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you. And the follow-up from the letter there, I've been watching the Milford City Council meetings and seeing their traction with their ambulance, what they've been going through. So thank you for the cooperation, being able to support them.
Well, and that's a two-way street, because as you know, was it 2 or 3 months ago, Beechwood Road had multiple closures because of the culvert pipe replacements.
Yeah.
And the general public wouldn't know the difference, but since we had to go take the long way around to get to Lower Beechwood Road and Round Bottom, they were graciously provided first response. So they were first responding so that their response times to that area were not lengthened at all. So,
Great.
it works both ways.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
I saw one of your units deep into Anderson Township the other night. They're in a bad storm. I think it was a lightning fire or something along those lines. So.
Yeah, a couple nights ago, very significant lightning storm. 2 houses had roof fires and attic fires in Anderson, and then we actually had 3 houses struck here in Union Township as well, all within about an hour's time, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were down in Anderson for quite a few runs.
thank you. Our next report tonight is from our police department. Chief Scott Gaviglia reporting.
Thank you, Mr. McGraw. For the month of June 2020, the Communications Center handled approximately 3,300 calls for service for police, fire, and EMS. On the administrative side of things, our CALIA assessors will be here virtually this year. So a little bit of a new experience there, but they'll be here Sunday through Wednesday. There'll be some public comments available, but it's going to be done all virtually this year. So we're excited to have them here and get our assessment underway. On the patrol side of things, we took 308 incident reports, investigated 98 crashes, conducted 172 traffic stops, issued 86 citations and 100 warnings, conducted 468 field interviews, made 99 criminal arrests, 57 traffic arrests, and served 113 warrants. We closed 135 cases to date through investigation, and our fuel for the month was $6,300. That concludes my report, gentlemen.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions or comments?
No, just thank you. Thank you to all our safety services people.
Thank you, Jim.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Next report tonight is from our service department, Mr. Matt Taylor, Director.
Thank you, Mr. McGraw. In the cemetery division, from June 15th through the 30th, 6 burials were performed, generating $2,900. 10 resident graves were purchased, generating $5,500. 1 non-resident grave was purchased for $1,500, and 5 columbarium niches were purchased, generating $6,500. And 1 cremation scattering garden was purchased for $500. The total amount generated for the period was $19,166.92. In the roads division, a total of 35 work orders were completed on 32 township roads, and staff ditched a total of 1,470 feet, installed 145 feet of pipe, and installed 6 catch basins on a total of 10 township roads. In the Parks Division, the inspections were performed on all township playgrounds and the necessary repairs were made. And as you've all seen, staff has planted 300 petunias at the Civic Center. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. It does look very nice out there. I noticed that when I came in this summer.
Very much so. Thank you very much, you and your staff.
Absolutely. Keeping Union Township safe and beautiful.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to our Planning and Zoning Department. Mr. Corey Wright, Director.
Thank you, Mr. McGraw. For the month of June, we handled 41 inspections and fielded 13 citizen complaints. Of those complaints, we issued 5 warning citations, 8 15-day noncompliance letters, and 4 30-day violation letters. Additionally, we forwarded 1 action to our law director for legal action. We resolved 12 violations administratively and re-inspected 25 existing violations. Additionally, you'll see we filed 3 nuisance actions for the month of June. With regard to commercial activity, we had 1 new commercial permit, 6 commercial changes of occupancy, 4 single-family permits. We had a multifamily permit issued, and the rest of the projects were homeowner projects, decks, additions, accessory buildings, pools, lots of pools and fences for the month of June. We had 72 permits for the month of June, $10,650 in permit revenue. That concludes my report.
Busy month, very good. Any questions or comments, Jill?
No, sir, I have none.
Great, thank you.
Our next report tonight is from our Township Administrator, Mr. Ken Geis.
Thank you. The contract for the property on Beechwood Road is progressing. We completed some soil and boring on that site. They both came back favorable, and we hope to close on that property sometime in June. We're also under contract, and there's a purchase order tonight for a property on Glenessee Withamsville Road. We hope on that property, we're doing finalizing our due diligence on that, and we hope to close on that sometime probably in August. Our property at 4000 McMahon, we are under contract to sell that property. As you remember, we purchased that so that we could have the bus garage in conjunction with the agreement with the West Clermont school district for that. So we fulfilled that obligation. We purchased an additional lot that would allow for some additional parking on that. And so we have the main structure on that facility that we had originally contemplated moving the service department into that site, but really, we are able to sell that building at a very favorable price. So I think it's advantageous to us to go ahead and do that, and that way we can deposit the money in a general fund, and that can be used to defease the debt that we had on that project. The police and the fire departments in the past, months, we've seen that they've assisted Bethel in their operations, and they were very instrumental in doing that, and they really did a great job up there in conjunction with all the other law enforcement and safety services personnel there. The police department shooting that we had earlier, that project is officially closed now, the incident. That was presented to the grand jury. There was a no bill on that, which means that the officer was exonerated for the actions that occurred on that. So again, it was a good job by the police department on behalf of the officer, the investigation that ensued after that, and the prosecutor's office was very complimentary about the way that our agency, the police department and safety services handled that incident. So again, thank you to the police department for that. On the agenda tonight, you'll see a couple of resolutions that relate to our employees. One is there is a request to execute the AFSCME contract, and the AFSCME contract is for the public works personnel in Union Township. We have tentatively agreed to that contract, and the contract is before the board for signatures tonight. It allows for the cost of living 3% raise for the employees for the 3-year period on that. And that's similar to the police contract as well as the fire contract that the board executed earlier. For the non-collective bargaining department employees, we have the same request for those employees to initiate the raises for them throughout the year. On June 25th, we had an ESID meeting, and then again, we did that virtually. There were representatives from the these are energy special improvement districts from all around the region on the phone. And really, the purpose of that was that the administrator for the ESIDs was going to be replaced in that. And so we just needed to vote on that, and so we affirmatively voted to replace the administrator. There's no additional cost to that, and as the board remembers on the ESIDs, that's an opportunity for us to create special improvement districts for companies generally, and at some point homeowners, to use a state funding mechanism to provide for energy efficient improvements to their house, and provide a mechanism where that will actually be attached to their house bill and their tax bill on it, and it will be paid as a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes on that. Happy to report, and you've seen on our signs, and even on Jungle Gyms, it was nice enough to put on their moniker earlier this week that UC Air Care is back in Union Township, housed here. They were gone for a period of time. We were successful in attracting them back. They're going to start off being here Monday through Friday during typical business hours, and we have a lease agreement with them this time, and we hope to, expand upon that operation, because it is a huge benefit to have the air care personnel housed in Union Township and really on site here. Not only do they fly to a particular site and then transport someone down, but our fire personnel are able to bring them to this site, and then they're able to take them down to one of the hospitals or transport them to a specific hospital. And on a regular basis, we actually have a doctor on site here at Union Township that can provide extensive, emergency medical services for the people. So it is very good. There's also a resolution on the agenda tonight that regards to Fisher Lane, and that is just the finalization of the vacation of that project. That went to the commissioners, they approved that, and now with the new legislation and the new requirements in the ORC, the board is actually required to validate that process by the Clermont County Commissioners. And tonight, there are two resolutions for really consideration and discussion by the board that relate to our police and fire departments. As you know, I've reported really for more than 5 years that we underfund our police and fire department, and we have underfunded it by our, through the levies that we have. And we've made up the difference in that by supporting that with the TIF agreements, the JED agreements, and in 2019, transfers from the general fund. I've talked about the sustainability of that long-term, and really that's not a legitimate long-term plan for our safety services. Specifically, for example, in 2019, we underfunded the police and fire departments by more than $3 million, and we had to then transfer $1.5 million from the TIF account, $1.4 million from the JED account, and $1.5 million from the general fund. That was more than $4.4 million, and the difference between the $3 million underfunding and the $4.4 million that we had to do is because we have to carry over an amount to pay for the police and fire departments until we receive the money from the auditor at the beginning of the year. 2020, the situation gets a little bit greater. The deficit, we're projected to have a deficit of about $3.3 or $3.4 million. It may be a little bit more because of some of the extra incidents that the police and fire have had to overcome. We also lost the Amelia contract, which was, close to $400,000 when it related to the fire service and EMS service, as well as the dispatching for the police department in that. So I would anticipate that we would again have to make up, more than $4 million into the safety services fund split between the police and the fire department for 2020. Going forward in 2021, we're talking about a statutory budget tonight for the township. We do a line item budget where we project what the costs are going to be for 2021. It looks like that is probably going to grow to $3.7 or $3.8 million in 2021 if we don't do anything. Again, we continue to get new projects in Union Township, and we've been able to cover some of those with the TIF revenues and the JED revenues, but 2019 was really the first year that we didn't have enough revenue in those accounts. We had to go into the general fund and cover the amount of money that we don't have for those services. And going forward, that is just going to be the norm if we don't do something and ask the voters for additional levy. When you consider this, the last levy that Union Township passed was 2009. And the commitment that the Board of Trustees in 2009 made at that time was that that levy would last 4 or 5 years. And so we're 11 years into that without going back to the voters for additional levies. Most of the communities around us have gone for levies, whether they're safety services levies, which combines the police and the fire department, or for individual police levies or fire levies in that. We haven't, and we're 11 years into it. Next year will be the 12th year into that with the funding that we had. I don't think there's any dispute that our police department, we have 56 sworn personnel in the police department. There was just an article in the paper where Westchester, a little bit larger than our community, they have 101 police officers, in that we actually answer more calls for service than the Westchester Police Department. The fire department in Westchester, they have a mix between, I think, full-time and part-time personnel. I don't believe they have any volunteers, well over 100 in that. And our fire and EMS personnel in Union Township answer more calls for service than they do in that community. I think that that's the reason for the difference is the communities are different. We have obviously a high retail component in that. We have the interstates, they have 75, 275, and 71 in their community in that. But with the complement that we have here, our officers the police officers are call to call. Our fire services are generally, very active in the EMS. And during the last CALEA report, one of the mentions, and, the chief and I, we've talked about it, really our fire department is an EMS service that occasionally puts out fires in that. We are run, most of the houses, when the calls for service come out, they're EMS calls in that. We infrequently, based upon the total number of calls, go out on fire calls, but there are a significant number of fire calls that we have and experience in that. And when you look at the capital expenditures that the township has made for our police and fire department, I think that we've really done a very good job in that regard. For example, we didn't build a new firehouse. We rehabbed an old firehouse and made that look like a brand new firehouse, provide new equipment for that, and we probably saved the township somewhere between $2.5 million and $4 million in that regard. We have had a history now of purchasing smaller EMS units, and we're able to buy 2 EMS units for the price of what most community, or a lot of communities, are buying 1 EMS unit for, and getting better service out of those because the new units are smaller, they're more manageable in our cul-de-sac streets, and they work better. And I think one of the biggest things that we've done to save a lot of capital in Union Township, particularly for the last 10 years, is the position that the fire department, in conjunction in support of the Board of Trustees, is we're purchasing used fire equipment. We've talked about that in the past, and there's really, it's a hard argument to make to spend $1 million on a new piece of fire equipment when we can purchase a unit for half that or less that will have the exact same service life for what we have and the needs that we have in Union Township for us. And we have a history of that. We haven't bought a new fire vehicle in some time. And in the past couple of years, we bought 4 brand new, not brand new, but used pumpers that had almost no miles on them and very few hours on the vehicle, and they work, great for our service. So I don't think there's a question as to whether or not the police department and the fire department has expended resources that they didn't need to expend. We're certainly not overstaffed. We're not overcapitalized as it relates to our physical plants in any regard. We're just at a position now that we can't even afford what we have in that, based upon the levies that are in Union Township, and we really need additional police officers. We could use an additional firehouse in the northern region of Union Township, and we're trying to look to the future to possibly secure that with the Beechwood Road property purchase that we're making at some time in the future. And I really just wanted to formally bring that to the Board of Trustees for discussion this evening, because if there is some consideration in that, we would need to pass a resolution to certify the necessity for that, send that to the auditor, bring back the millage and the full amount for that back to the township, and then the board would have to pass a resolution putting the ballot language sending that to the Board of Elections for incorporation into the November ballot. So with that, I, wanted to bring that to the board's attention for their discussion and consideration tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Geis.
Gentlemen, any questions or comments for Mr. Geis?
No, sir, very,
Yeah, very thorough with that. Thank you for presenting that. We're gonna have discussion about it as we progress. But, yeah, just thank you for presenting that and laying that all out, Mr. Geis.
And you mentioned the Bethel situation. I thought by having a strong police presence that helped keep that situation from getting out of control, and I think it discouraged people from actually going out. So I think I appreciate our police going out there and doing a great job. So thank you very much to them. Okay. So now we'll move on to public hearings. We have 3 different public hearings tonight. The first is for the Union Township 2021 tax budget. Mr. Campbell, did you have any remarks you wanted to make regarding this?
Sure. This is our statutory budget that we do every year, which looks at the year of 2020 and 2021. And if you follow through the report, you have 18 and 19 actuals. Fiscal year 20 is 6 months of actuals, 6 months of estimated, and then 2021 is all estimated.
Right.
So this is what we have to do statutorily to meet our commitments.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on regards to the 2021 tax budget? Okay. Seeing there's no one who wants to speak, I'll close the public portion and I'll open the floor for the trustees. Gentlemen, do you have any comments you'd like to make regarding the 2021 statutory tax budget?
I'd just like to thank Mr. Campbell and his staff of Cindy, a staff of one who have taken care to provide this for us this evening. It's a job well done again, Mr. Campbell, and I thank you very much for your time and efforts, you and Cindy, putting this together for us and having it ready, as always, on time, every time. I thank you very much.
Welcome.
And often you, I appreciate that you over budget a little bit, and usually it comes, our departments are pretty good about coming underneath the projected numbers, so I do appreciate you. It would be worse to be on the other side of that and have to make up a shortfall, so.
And Mr. Geis alluded to that. I mean, really, in township budgets, you're really budgeting for a 16-month period instead of 12. I know that sounds kind of different for somebody that's not real close to it, but by the time that we get our first draws, it's in March, and in late March. So, I mean, basically, we have to make payroll and pay all the bills for the first quarter before you start realizing any of the property tax revenue that comes in through these statutory budgets. So really, when you look at the total volume here, it's really a 15 to 16 months. So what we try to do is appropriate a little bit more so that we have carryover for the next year. A lot of people don't understand that, but you can't run this like you do a household budget. If you don't have that carryover, you can't operate the next year. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that as well.
Well, if there's no further comments, let's see, we'll have this as a vote later on. Is that right, Mr. Campbell? We have a resolution?
that's correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So we'll move on then to our next public hearing. This will be for case number 2-20-Z. It's the Timber Glen Limited Partners and Timber Glen 2 applicant. Mr. Wright, did you have some opening comments you'd like to make about this?
Yes, sir. Mr. McGraw, thank you, and given the length of the agenda, I'll be very brief. This case is a zoning map amendment. We are rezoning Timber Glen. There's an application here to rezone Timber Glen from R3 and B1. There's a small sliver of B1 here. You can see kind of in this area over here that's impacted. R3 is an obsolete zoning district. In 1999, there was no further expansion of that. As part of the old 74 project, the applicant has received some damage from the project, and because of the reductions of open space and other things and some opportunities that they've had for a couple of additional buildings, they're seeking a rezoning to PD, which is the preferred district for the retail corridor and the adjacent corridors. As we know, this property is located essentially as multiple entrances on Old 74 in the vicinity of Teal Town and Glen Estee. They're proposing 3 new 12-unit buildings, total of 36 new buildings. Overall density is going to increase about 1 to 1.5 units per acre. You can see the highlighted area here. There is a stream there. The property takes that happened were predominantly due to some detention features that are required as part of the project. This is the overall site plan. The applicant this is an amended site plan responsive to the Zoning Commission's recommendations from the July or the June 24th hearing, at which time they unanimously recommended approval with several conditions. All of those conditions that can be met on this plan have been met. There are a couple of administrative items that will need to be dealt with during permitting, specifically regarding landscaping and determination of facade materials, those kind of things. But put simply, this really allows us to capture an existing development, provide it with the PD district designation, allow for a streamlined review process now and in the future, responsive to market conditions and other things, and really is the best fit district for this project, especially considering the roadway network changes. So the action required this evening is in accordance with the zoning resolution 680 through 687. The board is to enter a motion to approve as recommended, approve with some further modification, or deny the applicant's request to rezone the property from B1 and R3 to PD as submitted as recommended, and incorporating any further modifications deemed appropriate by the Board of Trustees. And as I indicated, there is an amended plan here that you see that would be dated with a newer date than the original submittal, which is before the board this evening. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Wright, the project, even with the road changes, will still have the 2 entrances, is that correct?
There'll be multiple entrances. In fact, there's actually, the project's going to benefit from the road project in that it will have a new entrance here provided at this location, if you can see the cursor, which will bring them out at the new Paul Drive, Teal Town signal, which will actually provide greatly enhanced access for the project and be much safer than the current configuration. So,
Yeah, that'll be great. I've noticed that the current entrance and exits have caused numerous accidents at times. So that would be great that they could come out with the traffic light.
Absolutely.
That'll be a nice change there. All right. All right, any questions for Mr. Wright?
I have none this time.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak on behalf or against this case? Please come up. If you would state your name and address first, and then we'll swear you in.
I'm Jeff Mancini. I live at 4919 Rumpke Road, and I have a question on that
Well, hold
map.
on, I'm going to swear you in first.
Oh,
You raise your right hand. Do you swear the information you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes, I do.
All right, thank you. Please proceed.
On the map, where exactly is Teal Town? Is that little stub out? That's Teal Town?
Yes.
Okay. That's my question. Thank you.
Okay. And that intersection, just for your benefit too, is being realigned as we speak. The construction that's going on there now to incorporate the new Paul Drive and the existing Teal Town. Actually, it'll be a slightly different configuration than what it is today. And for people who don't know, that's where the Exxon station is, and there's Glen Estee First Baptist is right there. So. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on behalf of this case? Please come up. If you state your name and address first, and then I'll swear you in.
Mark Kenninger, 4535 Port Union Road.
All right, raise your right hand. You swear the information you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
My name is Mark Kenninger. My company's KPS Architecture and Landscape, and I'm the architect representing Timber Glen. Corey did a fantastic job, as usual, of summing everything up. I'm just here to answer any additional questions if you have any. So,
Thank you. Gentlemen, do you have any questions regarding this property?
Not this time.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you being here tonight, and if we do have a question, we'll bring you back up.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right, seeing there's no one at this time, I'll close the public hearing and open the floor for the trustees and give the trustees a chance to make any comments or questions that they might have. Gentlemen, anything you'd like to add or ask?
Just want to ask, Mr. Wright, the zoning commission recommendations have all been included in what you said they're all okay now?
Yes, sir. They've provided an amended plan as of the middle of this week that addressed all those conditions.
And we
Mr.
have that before us.
Yes, the architect's office worked very hard to get those plans to us in a relatively short turnaround.
Yeah, I
So,
see that, yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Wright, items 1 through 7 there, correct? For the zoning commission
Yes.
recommendation?
Yes, and as I mentioned, there's a couple of those that really cannot be addressed at this time, which relate to the building facade, which would be reviewed at the time of permitting,
Okay.
things like that.
Great. That's all I have, sir.
Well, if there's no other questions or comments, then gentlemen, I'll ask at this time. This is for, once again, Union Township. This is case 2-20-Z for Timber Glen. We're being asked to approve or modify or deny this zoning commission action in regards to this property. Is there a motion for this?
Yes, I'll make a motion that in case number 2-20-Z, in accordance with section 680 to 687 of zoning resolution, the Board of Trustees enter a motion to approve as recommended by the zoning commission of June 24th, 2020. Approve the matter before us this evening. And send it back to Mr. Menninger.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Roll call. Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw,
Yes.
Mr. Kenning.
motion carries.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for coming, and we appreciate the project, and it'd be nice to clean it up and make it a more cohesive project.
Amen.
Yep.
Thank you,
for
sir.
Thank you for investing and choosing here.
Thank you. All right, we'll move right along to our next case tonight. This is Union Township zoning case 5-05-Z. This is a plan development formal plan from the Elite Athletic Sports Complex. Mr. Wright, did you have some opening comments regarding this case?
Yes, sir. Mr. McGraw, again, I'll be brief. This is a PD major amendment for the former Clermont Distributing Building and adjacent parcels. You can see those, the full property that would be impacted highlighted here. You'll see the PD district designation and the surrounding zoning district designations. The applicant is proposing Elite Athletic Sports Complex here. It's basically a adaptive reuse of a former industrial warehouse to accommodate indoor athletics, basketball courts, party rooms, an eventual restaurant use, and other ancillary improvements to that facility, as well as 410 parking spots that are shown on an amended plan dated, you'll see there, July 8th. The original submittal has been revised somewhat, and I'll get down to this. This is at the intersection of Elick and Old 74, and the original plan has been amended to incorporate 410 spaces due to the review and the applicant working with the staff, and you'll see the amended staff report before you this evening. Now with that, what we did was we really worked with them to come up with conditions that allow for this use to proceed, because these uses have some typically sometimes they have differing volumes, and they can have some significant peak volume traffic associated with events, weekends, busy days, and that if they're, when they're successful, they're gonna generate a lot of traffic. So parking was a primary concern. Really, there are 9 conditions present that we've worked through with the applicant. Most of them are standard comments about agency comments, addressing regulatory comments for approval, addressing the right-of-way modifications, removal of pavement, kind of technical specifications there. Signage for the site being limited to monument signage, sidewalks along the public roadway frontage. You'll see there also, if they reconfigure parking spaces in this area, the ability to remove some of these landscaping islands to maximize the availability of the parking field and reconfigure that. There's another condition there, number 8 specifically, that they have at least 400 parking stalls for operation of the business. And if they drop below 400, they, for every 40 stalls that, below 400 that are available, they're not permitted to utilize one basketball court. So a reduction in a court or a reduction of parking would lead to a reduction of one of the courts in use to mitigate that, and with some fines for that. And then they may seek modification. There's a provision in there to seek modification under the PD in the future should parking conditions or usage of the building or trip travels or warrant that change. That said, the elevations here show it's an existing building. It's got a nice facade on it. They do plan some signage there, and it will be a repurposement of and reconfiguration really of this site. So that concludes the report.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Wright?
Not currently, thank you. You say that the recommended modifications are acceptable by
The applicant?
applicant?
The applicant actually submitted the revised site plan and worked with our office specifically in those recommendations.
Okay, in the 9. Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. And Mr. Wright, one of the questions I have is the sidewalks are required as part of the new road project. Are there any additional sidewalks that will be required on this property, that you recall?
The project will provide sidewalks on all public roadway frontages.
Okay,
So
great.
that is a condition.
All right. Thank you. All right. So this is a public hearing. This again is case 5-05-Z. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak on behalf of this case? Please come forward and give your name and address, and then I'll swear you in for your comments. Your name, please?
It's Joe Braun, 150 East 4th Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45202.
Welcome, Mr. Braun. Raise your right hand. You swear the information you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My clients are very excited about this. As they mentioned, this is the Elite Athletic Sports Complex. And with me tonight, in addition to Mark Breedemeyer from KBA Architects, who you all know, we also have Jason Fraley and then Chad and Brad Kelly, who are going to be involved in the operation of the facility. And they're all individuals that are from here in Clermont County who really believe that this is going to add a really nice business to your community. I do want to start off by saying, you asked the question, Mr. McGraw, where conditions 7, 8, and 9 came from. We did work very closely with Mr. Wright and Mr. Geis on those. I also want to thank them for working with us to make this achievable. As you know, this might be a site that would be challenging, particularly with some anticipated plans for this area that are scheduled. And should conditions change, staff had serious concerns about the parking. I think we've addressed those, and obviously we all want this to be a success, and it would be a great problem to have that we need even more parking, because that would mean that the business is successful. I do want to point out that we do agree with conditions 7, 8, and 9 as they've been drafted and negotiated with staff. We also would submit to you that we meet section 680 to 686 of the code that are required for a major modification amendment. And the only thing I would point out to you is that we did reserve the right in set condition number 9 to come back to an amendment. Should we find that, and I think it's a very realistic reality, that we can't open a restaurant with everything going on, with all the health challenges right now, we may not need the number of parking spaces we have. Should we find that the business is not generating what we would like, we may not need that parking. But we addressed the concerns of administrative staff. They wanted us to have those 400 spaces, and that's the purpose for those conditions.
Okay.
I will allow and like to reserve some time for Mr. Biedermeyer to speak on any matters that you might have questions about relating to non-parking issues or non-zoning issues. I will say that he produced the drawings that Mr. Wright presented. And again, I think this is going to be a business that you'll be proud of here in the township.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions?
I have none, Mr. Braun, thank you.
Not currently, Mr.
Thank you.
Brown, thank you.
Thank you.
If you would state your name and address for the record.
Mark Briedemeyer, KBA Architects, 29 High Street, Milford, Ohio.
Thank you. And raise your right hand. You swear the information you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help
Yes,
you
sir.
God. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you all for hearing our case, and we appreciate the time that everybody's put in over the last couple of weeks reviewing it. As Joe said, the comments that were added in the last day, we do not have any issues. I do want to clarify the original 6 comments. No issue with 1, 2, 3. With the amended plan, I don't believe we're cutting off any entrances. We know that in the future, if we do cut off entrances, we would have to restore that and add the green space and landscaping per the township's requirements. Number 4, no issue. Number 5, want to clarify that the comment is regarding the monument sign. We did submit a signage package with our submittal, and the monument sign does comply with that 10-foot height. And again, we will have some wall signage as well.
Okay.
The last one, the sidewalks, we will follow the county's guidelines and recommendations for the sidewalk construction. I do want to clarify, we're talking about this building. The address is Old State Route 74, so we're talking about sidewalks on Old State Route 74, correct?
Yeah, you can answer that, Mr. Wright.
Yeah,
but-
thank you. That would be the primary intent, would be to facilitate the walk along Old 74. That would be where the majority of the frontage would be available for pedestrians. And honestly, that is where the pedestrian traffic would probably originate from, is the neighborhoods on the north side, so.
Correct.
Okay. We have no issue with that, and again, we'll work with the county.
I believe that lines up with the road project that's
Yes.
underway right now.
Yes, sir. So, any questions?
I don't-
If not,
I
I'll
have
sit down.
none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here tonight who would like to speak on behalf of this case? Okay. If there's no one else at this time, I'll close the floor for public comments, and gentlemen, open the floor for trustee comments or questions. Gentlemen, do you have anything you'd like to ask or add to that?
No, I just was concerned about the modifications. I think Mr. Braun and Mr. Biedermeyer have answered those questions for us, acceptable to me. I thank you very much for your time, Mr. Wright.
Mr. Lowe?
Yeah, and thank you for, it sounds like adding the additional recommendations, 7, 8, 9, working through that with staff and getting to a mutually agreed position. And I'm looking at number 8, and I see that as far as having available 400 parking stalls for the operation of the business. If any reason number of parking stalls are reduced below 400, for every 40 parking stalls below 400 that are available for the operation of the business, applicant shall not be permitted to utilize one basketball court associated with the operation of the business, and applicant shall be fined up to $1,000 per day by the township for any violation of this condition. I hope that nothing of that matter ever gets to that point, so and I think the staff will keep us apprised as far as your business dealings, and if there's anything that starts to move in that direction. So this is ultimately, thank you for the investment in the community and having that, and again, just seeing that you work together with the staff and getting a mutually agreed position there. So that's great.
Well, thank you for the project. I know there's already been a lot of talk in the community about it, so I know there's a lot of excitement already. I think down the road, a restaurant definitely would be successful there, especially when the road configurations are all completed down the road, because it's in a great spot. It's also not just a Union Township amenity, it would be a countywide or really a region-wide amenity, because people would come from Harrison, Ohio, or maybe Columbus, Ohio, to partake in tournaments and things like that, so.
Absolutely.
You would see, I think, great interest in it.
Yeah.
And the sidewalks are important because, hopefully neighborhood people could be able to walk to it at times when if their team happens to be playing there and it's close by. So I think all those things tie in really well with it. And it's great to see that building be repurposed.
Yes.
When a large building like that goes vacant, no fault of the township, the former owners sold their business to another distributor and they combined operations, and you never know what's going to happen to a property like that. It could sit, vacant for a long time, so we're excited that you've taken interest in it and come up with a great concept to fill the space. So I think people will be really excited about it. I think you'll see a lot of success there. So we congratulate you, and I'm only saying that because I hope we can get favorable consideration on this case tonight.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah, no doubt. I think it's a great benefit for the families of Union Township, but all of Clermont County and outside the region as well, so. Absolutely.
If there's no further comments, then I'll ask for a motion regarding this case. This is case 5-05-Z for the Elite Athletic Sports Complex. Is there a motion?
I move to approve zoning case 5-05Z in accordance with section 680 through 687 zoning resolution. Board of Trustees, as approved with the modifications.
With the 9 modifications?
With the 9 modifications,
I second that motion.
Roll call. Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Congratulations. Thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Wright, congratulations to you. Also, a lot of moving parts on that one. And a complex site. So we're glad to see that all get worked out.
Amen, brother.
All right, that concludes all our public hearings for tonight. Is there any old business tonight?
I have none, sir.
All right, we'll move on to new business. We got a lot of new business. The first would be approval of payments. Gentlemen being asked to approve the bills to be paid presented by Mr. Ron Campbell, our fiscal officer. Is there any question? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
So move, sir.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is approval of our monthly financial report. Gentlemen, you've had a chance to look at that over. If you have any questions or comments, if not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the monthly financial report prepared by Mr. Ron Campbell.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next item is approval of purchase orders. As procedure, we ask for approval on any purchase orders exceeding $10,000. These are recommended by Mr. Ken Geis, our Township Administrator. Mr. Geis, could you please read through these first?
The first is to the Union Township CIC. It's for the economic development for the funding of the Glasty-Withamsville Road project at $165,000, and that's the purchase of the house there. Second is to Findlay Fire Equipment for the E49 pump, piping, and valve repairs at $13,000. The next is to Stryker Sales Corporation ProCare Service Agreement at $13,800. The one following is for the Fire Department Locality Media Incorporated. It's a service agreement for First Due Size Up program at $15,000, and that is a pre-planning program for the fire department. And the last is to Fleet Corps Technologies for the police department, and that's fuel at $20,000.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, any questions?
I have none, sir. Paid bills.
I'll ask for a motion then to approve the purchase orders as presented.
So moved, sir.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, gentlemen, the next is a contract authorization. We're being asked to approve and enter into a maintenance agreements contract between Union Township and the Ohio Department of Transportation, and separately Union Township and CDDG of Withensville LLC for the maintenance of sidewalks required in conjunction with the development of Clermont County parcel listed here, 413-112A-206, and situated in the public right-of-way of State Route 125, Union Township, Clermont County, Ohio. This would also further authorize our township administrator to execute any and all documentation in furtherance of the same. Gentlemen, this is for a new project. I believe it's the Dollar General project. Is that correct, Mr. Geis? Yes.
Yes. I think it is.
Do you have any questions or comments regarding this?
No, I have none.
Not this time. No.
All right, I'll ask for a motion then to approve this contract authorization.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call, Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, gentlemen, Mr. Geis mentioned this before. We're being asked to act on a collective bargaining agreement ratification. We're being asked to approve and execute the collective bargaining agreement between AFSCME, Local 2461, and the Board of Trustees of Union Township. This is effective through August 31st of 2023. Is there any questions or comments regarding this agreement with the employees?
I have none. Look it over and it's
Not this time.
acceptable by me.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion then to approve this collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes, sir.
Mr. McGraw,
Yes.
motion carries.
I'd like to congratulate our service department employees. Mr. Taylor, thank you for all the work that all of you and your department does. You guys make the township go, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of work to be done around the township, and we really appreciate everybody's hard work. So congratulations and thank you.
I echo that statement too. Yes. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And then, gentlemen, we have approval of the 2021 tax budget. This is what we talked about earlier. Mr. Campbell made a presentation. Needing a motion to approve the annual statutory budget for 2021 and certifying the same to the county auditor for consideration by the County Budget Commission. And this is prepared by Mr. Ron Campbell, our fiscal officer. Is there any questions or comments?
Not this time.
I think Mr. Campbell handled it very well, explaining the situation. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. And thank you for all your work on that, you and your large staff you have.
Thanks.
Is there a motion then?
No. So moved.
Second?
Roll call, Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw,
Yes.
motion carries.
Let's see what this is. All right, now we have some resolutions to look at and look at to possibly adopt. Quite a few tonight, so we'll start off with, this is Resolution 2020-15. Resolution ordering the vacation of Fisher Lane pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code 5553.045. We're being asked to adopt this resolution, ordering the vacation of Fisher Lane pursuant to that same code upon receipt of a resolution adopted by the Board of County Commissioners in furtherance of the same. So, gentlemen, Mr. Geis mentioned this before. Is there any questions or comments regarding this stuff?
I think it's
Not this time. I believe this,
self-explanatory.
yeah, closes out the business end of vacating Fisher Lane, so.
Then I'll ask for a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call. Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, next we have Resolution 2020-16. This is a nuisance abatement resolution. This resolution would authorize the abatement and removal of vegetation, noxious weeds, garbage, trash, and debris pursuant to Section 505.87 of the Ohio Revised Code at the following properties: 597 Mercury Drive, Cincinnati, and also 799 Greenwood Lane, Cincinnati. Gentlemen, you have a packet here that talks about these different properties, and I did have a chance to go by and check them out. Our zoning department's done a great job. It's unbelievable how much stuff is at some of these properties. But something has to be done. The homeowners have not taken care of the property, and we're being asked to take this action to get this cleaned up. Is there any comments or questions?
Like I said, as always, this bothers me very much. People purchase a piece of property and for a household or a home and just let it deteriorate to the point where the township has to step in and clean it up. What a shame. What a shame.
Okay.
Move to adopt resolution 2020-16.
Okay.
Second?
Roll call. Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. We'll get that taken care of now. All right, now we have Resolution 2020-17, and this is for the amended 2020 permanent appropriations. We're being asked to adopt this resolution approving the amended 2020 permanent appropriation resolution. Gentlemen, did you have any questions for Mr. Campbell regarding this? This basically cleans up the accounts and sets it to.
So, yeah, and so the big thing here is the COVID relief, COVID-19 relief. We got $177,000 from the county, which we have to set up a different fund altogether and track independently. So a lot of documentation around this. If we use the money, if we don't use the money, it's got to be returned. So primarily, that's what this is doing.
Okay.
And there's a few cleanups in there, but primarily for the COVID-19 relief.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
then all those purchases regarding that would go in from that account.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions, gentlemen?
No.
No, not this time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll look for a motion then to adopt Resolution 2020-17.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call. Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have Resolution 2020-18. This is a resolution for the non-bargaining unit employees. Basically, it brings them in line with the bargaining unit employees and takes care of the employees who fit outside that group. So, gentlemen, is there any questions or comments regarding these?
No. I have none. I think it's well taken. They deserve their.
Not at this time.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I can tell you, this is a group of people that work very hard, and we ask them to do a whole lot with a little. And I know you were in jest with Mr. Campbell before about his huge staff, but really he has one person that helps him, and other townships our size have whole departments that do that.
And the people don't realize we have minimal staffs, and all our administrative staff is very minimal compared to Anderson Township and some of the other townships around here. You'd be surprised the difference in the staffing we have. It's very minimal.
So the hard work they do to be able to do that doesn't go unnoticed, and we do appreciate what they do. They're all very professional.
Yes, amen to that.
Well, then I'll look for a motion then for adopting Resolution 2020-18.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So congratulations to all these employees, and we thank them for their hard work. Okay. All right, we have now Resolution 2020-19. Gentlemen, this is a resolution of necessity for levying an additional tax exceeding the 10 mil limitation for our fire department of the township. We're being asked to adopt this resolution for determining that it is necessary to levy an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the benefit of our Union Township for the purpose of providing for the fire department of the township. This is pursuant to Section 5705.19, Section 1 of the Ohio Revised Code. And gentlemen, we need to send this off to the county auditor for their, in order for them to process it and send back what this would pay. But we would need a millage amount and with a motion. So is there any thoughts to, have you guys given any thought to that as far as what the millage would be? Doesn't mean we're stuck on that number. It just means that's the number we would get the initial information.
I think it's necessary to bring our police and fire back up to par and restaffing and get it done as quickly as possible. And the millage is not going to be that great, but still, all in all, this is something that needs to be done. It needed to be done years ago. And like Mr. Geis had said earlier, the last safety service levy, combined safety service levy we had was in 2009. We said it would last 5 years. We went 11 years off that 5-year levy, and I think we've done very well. We've been very frugal with the money and done very well with the amount that was given to us by the citizens, and I think we need to ask the citizens for help here. Our fire department and our police department need to help to keep them intact with the rest of the services of our southwestern Ohio. And I'm for this levy going through, and I propose a 2 mil levy.
Okay. Mr. Lowe, do you have any comments or any questions?
Yeah, just a little bit. We'll echo your support there, Trustee McGee. You know, ever since I've dug through the budget and first meeting, sitting down with Mr. Geis and looking through it, you know, recognize that gap there basically in that deficit spending and the subsidy provided from TIF and JED funds, which I think to the general public aids in maybe sometimes a confusion to understand what the funds in the JED and the TIF are going towards with our police and our fire safety services. You know, so as I've reviewed that, it identifies that that's there. You know, from reviewing prior annual reports, and just as recent as the 2019 annual report, you know, the direction to not have to ask for a levy, but be able to pursue aggressive and sound economical practices to be able to support our police and fire, you know, has worked and has worked well. However, you know, as Mr. Geis has stated to us and stated since that very first meeting when I sat down with him, said that you know, the model of TIF funding and the JED, it's not something that's sustainable. And I believe for our police and our fire, it's something that we want to, you know, and as a physical conservative, it requires us to support that, right the ship, and, you know, as if it's right sizing to get in line with what's needed, because they're looking at a 11-year-old budget, you know, they've been operating with. So, and some of the additional considerations that I thought through with putting, you know, into this, looking at the article Mr. Geis referenced earlier, so Westchester Township, they are the largest township in the state of Ohio with close to 60,000 residents. We're just on the heels, really, at 50,000 residents, about number 8 or number 9 in the state of Ohio. And just those figures alone that Mr. Geis cited earlier, but, you know, you look at its, not to repeat him, but to add to it, it was 49,000 calls that Westchester fielded last year, and Union Township did 51,000 calls. You know, they're asking for currently a 4 mil levy, and, you know, you look at that, you look at the breakout, it really looks and appears that we're twice as efficient and spend half as much and still still asking for less there, or to your point, 2 and 2, or to equal, you know, I mean, and, you know, that's calls per officer, 1,000, you know, Union Township's fielding 1,051 calls on average per officer. Westchester's 495 calls per officer. You know, so our men and women serving in safety services across the board are, you know, are really going above and beyond. So I think for me, that helps to answer the question of, you know, are the departments efficient and effective at managing the costs? And I think benchmarking against similar sized townships, that absolutely shows that they are. Because the main thing to keep in mind there is, you know, the total value between what the actual costs incurred have been over the last year for police and fire, and looking forward to the next year, you're going to get put in the range of 16 to 18 million. You know, and compared to that benchmark, Westchester's at close to 36 million collectively. So, I mean, wow, that's, you know, that's fantastic, and we just got to applaud, you know, the staff and our safety services, our police, our fire. So thank you for what you're able to do. You know, I know from talking with Chief Dialing, Chief Gaviglia, since you know, very early on, and specifically Chief Dialing, I live here. You know, he says, and he's ready to, you know, vote on it, support it, and fund it. So it says a lot to me when your boots on the ground have that, that are also, you know, our residents that live here that want to support something. But bottom line, it's, you know, the fundamental approach that it's our ability to certify something, to get the correct, you know, values back from the auditor's office, and really give the community the choice. It's their choice. It's their choice to be had on November 3rd. You know, and I think that this is a strong community that is for funding the police and fire and defending our police and fire. So that's kind of really where my thoughts are with it. You know, and to get to a millage, I was very close to what you're thinking, Mr. McGee. I did some rough math anyway of 1.9 mil and 1.9 mil, be 3.8 mils. I figured if that's an average if that's on an average home value of 200,000, that might be somewhere close to $266 annually. So for way less than $1 a day, that gets you up to about 65% full funding of what's needed. And as Mr. Guys alluded to, we can look at the future out years. But I mean, I think even at just under $1 a day, there could be full funding as well for that entire deficit. So it's something to think about for the millage. But again, right now this really just gets the formality of the process started and gets it over to the auditor's office to really set and tell us what that dollar amount's going to be. So, so I support that. Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that analysis. So, I agree with both you said. We've tried as long as we can to hold this off, but we really need to eventually expand our departments, and we can't continue on this path of alternate funding because there's just not enough revenue there. And this is a necessary step to make sure our departments don't suffer, make sure they got the right amount of funding. We've tried to be diligent and not overcharge residents and make sure they're getting all the bang for all the dollars that come in. So if there's no other comments, I'll ask for a motion then. I would assume we would try, get the information on the 2 mil at this point, and then if we need to do less, then it's right, you guys are pretty close on what you were thinking, and I agree with those numbers, so.
1/10 away.
Yeah.
Yeah, extremely close. And like I said, I mean, I think just again from the rough math, you can be less than $1 a day and be, I'm one that always likes 80-20 rule, 80%. You can be close to 80% fully funded at less than $1 a day to, you know, on an average value of $200,000 home. That's all rough rule of thumb type of math right now. So yeah, I support Mr. McGee's position there.
All right. So I'll ask for a motion then to adopt resolution 2020-19.
So moved.
Second, and do you need to add in the millage that we need to write into? And we'll break it
Right.
between both 19 and 20, right? So it'd be both resolutions.
All right.
I mean, how,
So we'll,
How are we
the
gonna
motion would
package
include a 2 mil, they ask for a 2 mil.
2 mil for 19?
Yes.
Yes.
and I'll second that.
Roll call. Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And we have, that was for, the first one was for fire, right? And this
Yes.
is for police.
Yes.
On the second one, this is resolution 2020-20, which I would assume we would ask for also the 2 mil. If there's any further comment about the police, I think Mr. Logue, you already mentioned both fire and police. Mr. McGee, did you have anything you wanted to add, or?
Just kudos to our police department. I think we have the finest safety services in southwestern Ohio, always have thought that, with the personnel that we have and the amount of people that we have. It amazes me the work that they're done, and when you call for them, they're there. You don't have to wait. They're there to do the job that they're expected to do, and I thank them for that. And I'm willing to pay the tariff, because I think it's needed. We need more personnel. We've been short on personnel for years. Since I've been here, we've been short on personnel. It's just, it's much needed. The men are working very hard, very diligent with their jobs that they do, and I think they need to know that we care for them. I thank you very much for that, and thank you for the time, Mr. McGraw.
Okay. Absolutely, Trustee McGee, Trustee McGraw, and just, I guess, in the furtherance of that, the other real benefit to this too is, one, it's looking at the actual costs incurred, so we know what the costs have been. It's not for completely new growth, new build-outs, et cetera. It's actual costs incurred, and that anytime you're dealing with the actuals, that's fantastic. The other benefit to that, I think, overall to the community is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Geis, but that will free up potentially some of the funds that are with the JED fund to be able to, if it's a need for a road resurfacing project or potentially parks, that's an ability to be able to free that up.
Free that money up for that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's great value all the way around to let the voters have the choice to decide the funding strategy for our local government here. Absolutely.
So is there a motion then to adopt resolution 2020-20?
So moved
Second.
with 2 mil.
Second with 2 mil.
Roll call. Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. So we'll do that, and then that'll come back, and then we can make a firm decision on how to proceed.
Yes.
All right, at this time, I'll open the floor for comments from our board members. Gentlemen, do you have anything you wanted to bring up tonight?
I was happy to be part of the group that went to the village of Cherry Grove for their ribbon cutting down there. It's a beautiful home they have down there at the end of McLean Drive. And I think Mr. Becker was there. Big, beautiful home. They had, I think he said 3 to 4 openings that they're working on now, and they're moving forward. And the home is really beautiful. You've been down and look at it. It's beautiful. Beautiful done. It's a nice back there, nice wooded area. It looks beautiful back in there. Very happy to be there, and very happy to meet some new people that I hadn't met, and they seem to be doing a great job. And I was glad to be present on, I represented the Board of Trustees. And I thank you for allowing me to be there for you, sir.
Thank you for doing that, and it is a beautiful location, considering you could walk to Beachmont Avenue or Ohio Pike, whatever name it is there, and you could walk to Home Depot
Yes.
easily. So it's amazing to be in that quiet and wooded setting.
Yeah, you wouldn't
And
believe it back there.
You're minutes from every kind of shopping you could think of.
It's really beautiful back there.
I appreciate you going there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being there to represent us. Absolutely. So, one additional comment is to say, Yeah, it's fantastic to have Air Care back out here. I was out here the day after the cake that the Safety Services had, welcoming them back to the Civic Center here. I was talking with the pilot and the doctor and flight surgeons, and you know, it's just great to have that services close here and having that great warm welcoming. So thank you, the Safety Services, again, for being out there on getting the signage out on the digital display as well, and having the cake. So it's always great. So.
And you can bet a professional organization like that wouldn't bother coming here unless we had great safety services to begin with.
Yeah.
The relationship that Chief Dimling has had with Erica over the years has been excellent. And it's a great thing for really the whole eastern side of Cincinnati and Clermont County to service, you know, people who have had a serious accident. It's a tremendous, I think the relationship will only grow over the years. I'm glad they're back too.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Nothing else, sir.
It's great to have some good zoning cases tonight, especially with the economy and all the uncertainty with the COVID-19 and coronavirus going on, and the rest of the country is trying to figure all that out, and we continue on with some great projects. Lots of good stuff happening, lots of good road projects going on right now, so Union Township continues to move forward. In the ever-changing coronavirus environment, starting tomorrow, the governor has ordered that Clermont County become a mask-using county,
6 p.m.
and that would be required, because we're indoors here, it would be required at any future meetings. So we just want to mention that to everybody to make sure you got your mask. But I've already heard that some of the local stores have already got rules, like I think Walmart has closed one of their entrances, and they're funneling everybody through the grocery entrance. So some of the stores have already enacted rules for this. So keep a mask with you, or you may not be able to go into a store, so I just want to point that out. Also, if there's a violation or someone feels concerned, please contact our health department regarding that. We do not want, and this is also, the county sheriff has echoed this, we don't want people calling 911, using up the 911 services because of a mask violation. So please help us out with that, use some common sense, and if there's a serious violation, please contact the health department, they'll take care of it from there. So I just want to mention that.
Yeah, and going on their website is, I believe, one of the best way to contact them. You can file a complaint on their website. So that's, yep, thank you. Good touch on that.
And we'll continue to adapt and change however we have to be able to do our meetings. That's why we're live streaming and we're recording the meetings. It's harder for people to be here, so we understand that, and that way you can still see what's going on. Our post office continues to be open for business during the normal hours. The Civic Center offices are open to the public for zoning permits and general information. Our parks are now open. We'll also look at a possibility of enhancing the fall junk days to a full week instead of like a half schedule. A date and will be established at a later time. I'm certainly hoping we can figure out a way to do the junk days.
Yeah.
A lot of people have asked me about that, and it's an opportunity to get rid of unwanted items that are hard to get rid of normally through the normal trash. So it's a great service that the residents really appreciate. So
Amen. Yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
we'll come up with some kind of compromise there and work that out. That's all the comments I want to make at this time, but gentlemen, anything else you want to finish up with?
One last thing, just for everyone in the room, State Representative John Becker joined us tonight, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. He's a regular attendee. But at this time, I'll open the floor for comments from the public. Does anybody would like to make a comment tonight? Thank you. If you don't mind, again, just state your name and address again for the record.
I'm Jeff Mancini. I live at 4919 Rumpke Road. And just to clarify, I believe I understood the concept of the combined safety levies, but to add it up, essentially come November 3rd on the ballot, we're going to have a combined fire and police levy tentatively of 4 mills, correct?
Essentially, yeah, there would be two separate levies, one for fire, one for police.
Okay.
We're asking for the dollar amount for 2 mills, so depending on how that comes back, that would determine, what number we actually.
But it could actually be greater than 4 mills.
We could, it could be less.
Thank you.
Yeah, and all that gets predicated on how it comes back from the county auditor's office to give the total assessed value for the township at this time, so that these aren't rule of thumb type of figures, but accurate.
Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment tonight? All right, seeing there's no one else, we'll move on with our business. I do want to thank everybody who did come tonight, though. We appreciate you attending and being regular guests here at our meetings. We do appreciate that, and your participation's welcome. You can keep up with us on Facebook. There's lots of information being posted constantly from our police department, our fire department, and also the township. So please, if you participate in Facebook, please check that out. If you don't, we also have our website, which has been upgraded and changed. It's a great new website, a lot of more information on there, and it's better organized, I think, in order to find it easy and quick. So check out our website, and it's a great place to get more information. All the most up-to-date changes and rule changes and COVID-19 changes are on there. So, all right, gentlemen, at this time, we have a need for executive session tonight. We'll need a motion for executive session. This is to consider confidential information related to the marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance, because the information is directly related to a request for economic development assistance, and that is to be provided or administered under any provision of Chapter 715, 725, 1724, or 1728, or Section 701.07, Section 3735.67 through 3735.70, 5709.40 through 5709.43, 5709.61 through 570.69, Ohio Revised Code 5709.73 through 5709.75, or 5709.77 through 5709.81 of the Ohio Revised Code, or that involves public infrastructure improvements or the extension of utility services that are directly related to an economic development project, and where it is necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, Section G8. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Trustee McGraw, before that motion, if I could just add in a bit of schedule for October 8th at this time. If we can, I have to be out of state, and at this time we can readjust as we move forward, but if we can go ahead and clear that up off the schedule and cancel the October 8th meeting, 2020.
All right.
Make it to 50?
If you want to make a motion to that effect?
Motion, yeah. Move to cancel the October 8th, 2020 meeting at this time.
All right. I'll second that.
Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. Logue,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw,
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do you want to set a date for the meeting at then?
We said we'll get closer because, my thought on that is we'll talk about as we get closer with COVID and how that's gonna work out. So
I would assume we could keep our normal fourth Thursday of the month meeting date, which is
Which is
October
the 22nd?
22nd.
yes,
Yeah.
depending on the trend of how everything's moving right now too.
Just cancel the 8th.
Yes, yes,
However, I'll add in July, we're going to have a second meeting in July, just so everybody knows.
yes.
That being necessary to accommodate the auditor's answer.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, so definitely on the calendar for the upcoming meeting in July, second meeting in July, and then we'll continue to evaluate or monitor the COVID impacts from there on out. But no, thank you for recognizing October, the month of October right now.
Okay.
And
So then I'll go back
Your
to
motion.
asking for a motion for an executive session, and that's regarding everything I read before.
yes, correct, absolutely. Not going to have you read through that again, so appreciate it, thank you. But while the public was here, because I
Yes.
just wanted to let them hear and be informed there, so.
Okay.
So moved,
Second.
Roll call. Mr. Logue,
yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes, sir.
Mr. McGraw.
Yes,
We're into executive session at 8:30 PM.
and I'm going to blame Mr. Becker for all those Ohio Revised Code sections. come out of executive session?
Moved.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
We're out of executive session at 9:31 PM.
At this time, there'll be no action based on the executive session. So if there's no further business, gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
We're adjourned at 9:32 PM.
I'll try to get it in the same minute.